like it had to be like very intense, but very long and very young sounding all at the same time. So I did it once and it was a little too long. Then I did it once and it was a little too short. Then I did it again and it was a little too short. And then it's like I was having trouble finding the exact length of the yell. So that was kind of a challenge.
It's really hard to work with real kids. Not because they aren't talented enough. There certainly are a lot of child voice actors in Los Angeles. But dubbing is so tough. Sorry, the director of Phoenix. Let me tell you. It's just hard because it's so particular and the timing of everything. And also, kids are in school during the day, but the studio's open. So there's that.
Well, was it W.C. Fields who said never share anything with kids?
Or dogs, yeah.
They drop focus. It's not about them. That's a good
point.
Are you kidding me? Fine. So yeah, that's you get emotionally involved in these characters and stuff. You know, like you have your favorites. I have mine. You know, and I find out things about my characters. They're like, oh, they're dead. Or they're a bad guy. They're bad. Mike, right here. Yeah.
I want you guys up on the show that has become so popular, like in the past. Everywhere else. Were you guys all surprised how it became?
I was not at all. I was watching it from when episode 2 aired, and Josh Greeley was like, dude, you need to check this show out. I was like, all right, oh, wow. And so I watched every week when it was airing, and I was just like, I've got to be involved in the show, I've got to be involved in the show, I've got to be involved in the show. Don't overplay it. Hey Mike, what's up? You know that, but I was actually at NDK, and it was the first time I met Bryce, and we were chilling out in the green room, and I got an email. I checked my email. It was from John Bergmeyer, who's the head writer of Funimation. He's like, hey, you finished this last project you were working on. Are you about ready to get started on the next one? I'm going to have you and Michael work on Attack on Titan. I looked at it, put it in my pocket. I said, please excuse me. I stepped out onto the balcony of the 20th floor, closed it behind me, and went, hey guys, I got great news. And I was talking to Bryce, and I was like, so, I'm working on the show. And he hadn't been cast yet, so he's like, the show? I was like, yes, the show. He's like, I think I know exactly what you're talking about. Good. And then he ended up exactly what I was talking about.
I got lucky to be able to audition. I was talking to you and Patrick Sykes about how I was a fan of the show also. Because I started watching it from episode 6, which is a great place to start. Because you get through episode 5, you're like, no! They can't kill off the lead, and then episode 6, he's not there. You're like, they really did. They totally did, and I was hooked. I knew the show was going to be big because of how cool it was. I didn't realize that it was going to be this big, like, theme park attraction and Universal and, like, live action movie and just, like, a phenomenon that's, I think, going to be around for a long time. Cross my fingers. Yeah, I love the show. I mean, I think it deserves it. It's an awesome story. And I think it's not like, we were talking yesterday about how a lot of things coming out are not original. And I can't really put my thumb on anything that's quite like Attack on Titan. It's very unique.
It's got certain elements I see in other projects that really resonate with society, stuff like Game of Thrones, where you're falling in love with these people and then they're just ripped away from it. And I think that part of why that really resonated with audiences in America for sure is because we're still embroiled in the longest war of our history. People's brothers and sons and wives are all being blown apart or maimed or something, and we're having to just deal with that immediate loss. And there's nothing that can replace those things. And we feel this like pulling sense of helplessness, like we're in some walled city. And to top all that off, we're also also coming out of one of the worst recessions in the history of our country in 50 plus years. And you have people who cannot find a job. You've got 25-year-olds who got out of college, couldn't find a job, finally found something that paid nothing and makes them work in a tiny basement full of asbestos. And they're sitting there and there's no room for advancement. They can't go and find a new job because they have to work so many hours just to put food on the table. And then their younger siblings are now coming out of college and hey, the workforce is open again. Oh, but you've been at this dead-end job for 4 years. We're not as interested in you as somebody who just got out that's fresh. So there's just
I think
a lot.
that's a really interesting point. I'm sorry.
Yeah, totally.
I think that's a really interesting point. Like not just like the America and Americans in general, because it's not just Americans and it's not just westernized culture that is so drawn to the show. I think a lot of it has to do with the universal idea of hope, right? Like people look at Titans and we don't have to worry about a Titan eating us, thank God, which is awesome. But everybody has their own Titan, whether that's poverty or a dead-end job or bullying or whatever your Titan is. Like these characters go out and they fight the Titans and they inspire hope and they bring people to a place that's happy, because everybody can make that choice to fight whichever respective Titan they're fighting in their life. And I think that's why the show is so big, which is a happier thing. Or I don't know, maybe it's the yelling. Yeah, I mean, it's a great show. Were you surprised that it was so big?
I was not, and I'm not trying to be contrary, but it's more like I was at a convention and when Titan was still just in Japanese, I would see people cosplaying and I'd see the brown coats and I'd see people with like flower wreaths on their heads. So I asked them, what's this all about? Like, oh, it's this new thing. It's just in Japan right now, it's called Attack on Titan. And every con I go to, I'd see more people in the costumes, more people. And I hadn't seen anything quite like that, like since Full Metal Alchemist. So I knew, because I knew from experiences in Full Metal, like, this thing is going to be really big.
Yeah.
So when I heard that we got it, I'm like, oh boy, everybody's going to go freaking crazy. And Nina did. I was trying to get in the show, and then we did. And it's all great. But, no, it is. I'm not trying to make light of it. It's just, when you've been in the industry for a while, you can kind of see a pattern. And there's always the big show for a time. And I can't remember what the big show was, really, before Attack on Titan. There's a handful of other really big ones in here. And some of them, and the Sword Art's pretty big deal.
Yeah.
And, yeah. Big deal.
Yes, the costume.
Yeah.
The costume.
Yeah, it had all the earmarks of being a big thing. I think that all of us can find someone in the show to relate to, and on a lighter note, while I agree with the things that Tyson and Trina said, I think I noticed when I was first noticing people dressing in the costumes, it was a lot of younger kids, like teenagers, and maybe like 13 young teenagers. And then when I found out what the show was, I'm like, why are they so into this? It's so heavily like violent and awful. And I think it's because when you're young, everything that you're feeling is like exponentially bigger and more important than anything else that someone else is feeling at a different age. And it's your time to be selfish when you're a teenager. It's all about you, and everything's big, and you don't know how to express it. And here comes this show, and even though it's violent, everything is big for the characters that are involved, and they get to express it. Like, here's this giant titan, I'm going to go try and kill it in the biggest, craziest way possible, and I'm going to scream, and I'm going to yell, and every moment of my life is dramatic.
I can do it. I'm strong. Real strong. None of you come close. I am a warrior! That's my favorite.
In the forest, the Levi squatter really determined to take down that female titan, and they are pissed about it. Oh, I'm not going to do it anymore! And it's really cool to scream, like, cut some
arms and punts the baby one. And he's like stepping on this other one's neck. And he just goes, Get up, let me tell you again. And again, and again!
Terrifying when he does that. Also, I don't know if you know this about Bryce or not, but he does a lot of mixed martial arts. Like, you can Google, like, Bryce Papenbrook roundhouse kick or something like that. Yeah, and, like, he just, like, it's this giant dude and, like, Bryce. You know what I mean? So I see Bryce, he's like, hey, where's Bryce? And then, like, kicks this guy and he, like, goes down. And so when he goes from, like, regular Bryce to, like, super Aaron Bryce, it's physically terrifying.
There's some energy that's
Yeah.
coming off of it.
Let me tell you what my inspiration is.
Okay.
So I had these delicious chips. They were really good. And I was waiting all day to go home and eat them. I have two multi-foods. They're like little white fluffy dogs.
You're talking about
So I have two tiny little dogs, and they eat my chips.
That's the catastrophe that inspires that much rage in your life.
So angry at them. So that's what I thought about. Noodles! Eat them.
Favorite line? Do you have a favorite line?
I'm gonna go and cheat. It wasn't a favorite line I said, it was a favorite line I wrote, and it was, are you asking me why people eat potatoes?
Silly fat
Oh yeah, sure.
Red bread.
Oh my goodness.
Hey, because I'm a magical
Say I want. Yes, it does.
I have to make his face also.
If I can stop these. Do we have favorite anime characters from any show? Yes. My favorite anime character is Ed from, yes, and here, I was gonna say Space Jam, but not from, Ed from Cowboy Bebop. Love Ed Bird.
Ryoma Hibiki, Ron the one half.
Nice.
Trunks, TV.
Yeah.
Oh man, why do I have to pick? I don't know. I like anime. There are too many. All of it.
I know that character.
That one.
That one. Oh, the kid from Ghost Stories.
Next question. Edward Ulrich.
Your character, where else you can do it fit in like a different anime? Where you can do your character would fit in what anime?
Take your character from time and put them into another anime. What is it?
Full Metal
It's not a high school show. I really think the country just needs a normal life. Levi came to the prom.
Aww.
I would pop Rody Run Titan into Beck Mongolian Shop Squad.
Yeah!